This coming Monday, I know you already know the Gospels of Luke that we read, and we're going to shift the subject from the Gospel to a saint that we all love. The Gospels of Luke is the 4 stories, just quickly so we don't really miss them. The first story of the Archangel Gabriel visiting Zacharias and telling him not to be afraid, his prayer is heard, and his wife will have a child, and he will call his name John. The second Gospel that we're reading tomorrow, which we just read now, is Saint Mary, the Archangel Gabriel. Same Archangel tell her that she is blessed among women, and that she will give birth to Christ, the Son of God. The third Gospel, which will be next week, is Saint Mary visits Elizabeth, and the fourth Gospel is the birth of Saint John, before Christmas. So the 4 weeks of Kahk prepare us for Christmas, for the Nativity, for the birth of our Lord. But there is something I need to talk to you about today, is Monday. Monday, which is tomorrow is Sunday. Monday is Monday after tomorrow, which is the 20th of December. We celebrate the departure of Santa Claus. So you maybe some of us, maybe I'm talking to the little ones, maybe you think Santa Claus is a fiction, a person who was made up as part of the Christmas celebration. But actually, Santa Claus is a real person. So I want you to see the icon, and we're going to see where he actually was a bishop. Let me show you his icons first. I wish we have an icon of Santa Claus here. The churches actually keep him and venerate him in the East and the West. That means the Catholic and the Greek and the Copts. Every church on earth celebrates St. Nicholas. And you see that as how he is dressed in the icons of the Byzantine church. He's an older man with a dress of a bishop. He holds the gospel in his hand. Especially in Europe and Russia. Russia loves him a lot. St. Nicholas grew up in a town in Turkey on the sea, a coastal town. And the name of the town is Myra. Well, we call it in our own tradition Mura, but Myra, and I will show you where it is on the map. And it's a very small, what is this? Myro? Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Here it is. So, hopefully we'll have a nice image of St. Nicholas place here. So the one big sea that goes around Turkey is the Mediterranean. You know, Egypt is down on the other side of the Mediterranean where Alexandria is. So Egypt and Israel. So Myra is more like on top of Sinai, Israel area. And this little town where Saint Nicholas was a bishop. He was born in the area, in the same area. Saint Nicholas was born there. And his parents were very, very rich. Very rich Christians. But they taught him to be a good Christian. And they taught him something special is to give. To have the generosity of giving. Yes, they were rich, but they didn't really get attached to money. Money didn't own them. And they were giving from their money generously. So when he grew up, he wanted to do the same. He loved to care for people who are poor and needy. Apparently, at one point, his parents died in a plague. Some sickness like corona came and killed his 2 parents. So he found himself with a lot of money, and he started immediately going around looking for people who need money. Every single, like Sunday, he would go after church and go around and give money to people, and without them knowing. And people would be talking about it. They said, you know, today I found in front of my door a bag of gold. Where did it come from? I don't know. But we really needed money, and it came in the right time. They tell many stories of St. Nicholas, of his care for the poor, and when he was a young man, before he became a bishop. There was a woodcutter, this is a famous story, a woodcutter who had 3 daughters. In those times, it was in the very tough times, in those times the girl would have to pay money for the boy to get married. Not like the opposite today. So dowry is paid by the girl's father. So the woodcutter didn't have money to get his daughters married. So the temptation was, he was not a Christian, temptation was to let them live singles and maybe even work in sin, to be sinful. St. Nicholas heard of it, so and the story says that he went at night, and he got himself a ladder, climbed the roof of the man, the woodcutter, and dropped a bag. When the time came for the older daughter to be married, dropped a bag of gold in the chimney. So at night, the daughters hear a thud, and they go to look in the fireplace, and they find a bag of gold. They didn't know who did it. And this is where you have the idea about St. Nicholas being coming through the chimneys. He didn't go through the chimneys. He just dropped the bag. And then the second time it happened also on the second daughter, and he did the same thing. And the third time the man said, I'm going to have to see who is this. And he caught him. He didn't sleep. He caught him. He waited for him, and he heard somebody walking on the roof. He went up and saw the ladder, and I think they knew that was Nicholas. When the bishop of the town, Myra, died, and they asked for him to be a bishop at very young age. Nicholas was a bishop in a very young age, that's what we were told. St. Nicholas cared a lot for the poor, continued to care for the poor, and also for children. He loved children. He was always looking out for them, spending time with them, teaching them the stories of the Bible, telling them about St. Mary and the saints and the angels, and teaching them to be generous. One thing he used to teach always, that he says, giving makes baby Jesus happy. Like when the little boy Christ sees us giving, he is excited and happy. Later, he was living in Turkey in the time when the king Diocletian was the ruler. And we know Diocletian is the one who persecuted, or behind the persecution of Christians. So at one point he was imprisoned. St. Nicholas was put in prison for many years. I believe maybe 20, 25 years. When Diocletian rule ended by Constantine and he was released, St. Nicholas went back to his church and found people are actually remembering him and telling his stories to one another. I was very excited about that. And when he went back and they received him as an older, now like this one, an older bishop in the cathedral, which I want to tell you, there's a cathedral built in Myra on top of his relics. When he died, they buried him, and this is St. Nicholas Cathedral in Myra, in Turkey, an ancient one from the 5th century. He was living in the 4th century. Let me show you this one too. Now it is, the town is called Demri. Demri is in Turkey. It is the Myra, the old Myra. So these are, that's the church. Inside of it looked like that. This is from the 5th century. A church from the 5th century. Used to have his relics under it. His body was buried under it. That's the altar and the sanctuary. You usually have those seats in the old churches for the bishops, the priests, and the deacons. And these are the frescoes, the paintings on the church walls. Okay. So he was one of the people that attended the Council of Nicaea, when Arius denied Jesus to be the Son of God, the true God of true God. St. Nicholas was invited as one of the bishops to go and be part of this court. They say, and I don't really believe it much, but they say that St. Nicholas got so angry and stood up, went to Arius and punched him in the face. So the whole council was angry with him. They said, no, we don't do that. That's not the way we behave. But it's sometimes you think somebody like St. Nicholas, who's always gentle and giving and nice, will be always gentle and giving and nice. But I can believe some of it, that he is, no, when it comes to certain things, he's not gentle. I'll tell you about another story that's true that happened, is that the king, after Constantine, I think the king who came after, or the local governor, has misjudged 3 soldiers, Christian soldiers. And St. Nicholas knew they were innocent and they were about to execute it, to be killed. So he stood and he actually yelled at the governor. He told him, you cannot do that. It's very obvious they have not done anything. Leave them alone. And he, under the fierce, because St. Nicholas was loved, everybody loved him. Under the fierce defense of St. Nicholas, the governor yielded and the 3 soldiers were released. Many, many stories are said about St. Nicholas, and he became very much loved in Europe. And miracles happened in his name, many miracles. One of the best known miracles is where he was buried after he died. Some kind of sap or gum was covering his tomb. And when they took it, it was very sweet myrrh, like incense, the incense that we use. And this is what made him very famous. So through Europe, he's known. They celebrate his departure, and it's not a surprise. Guess when they celebrate his departure? We celebrate it on Monday, December the 20th. So guess when they will be celebrating it? That's a rule.
25th.
No. A rule. It's 13 days before us in older celebration. The West celebrates 13 days before. That's the difference between the Julian and the Gregorian. So this actually is celebrated on the 6th of December. In many places like Belgium, Switzerland, Germany, they actually have a special thing on the 6th or the night of the 5th, where they actually they get a man or a young man dressed in a bishop, and they go on a horse around the city, and he will give gifts to the children. Children will have their socks filled with hay and carrots for the horse. In return, they expect that he would take the carrots and the hay, and he will put the gifts. That's how they do it. And this is where the tradition of St. Nicholas done, and it's a very beautiful tradition because it brings all the gift giving early. And this is where you have all the stories of gift giving and buying stuff. And now we have it. We forgot about Christmas, and now we're only having the gift giving, which is a little bit ridiculous. But early, it was St. Nicholas who, in his memory, celebrated this. And then we have many churches in the name of St. Nicholas. We have many kids in the name of St. Nicholas, and they're all beautiful. And they take on the spirit of St. Nicholas, and we are very happy and blessed to have the name kept in our community. We ask him to intercede for us. He intercedes for, as you can imagine, the needy, people in trouble, children. Somehow he got linked also with the sea people, with the seamen, for some reason. I think there's another story about that. So St. Nicholas is a very loved saint, and his memory continue on to be living, and it's linked very much to the Christmas season because his departure date was around this time. We ask his intercession, and glory be to the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And God.